Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, what up, Bolt fam? It's the director. Chargers fans, we're going to have ourselves a pretty serious talk, man, because you know what? This offseason's been amazing, right? Perhaps the most impressive and exciting that I've ever seen as a Chargers fan, from Khalil Mack to J.C. Jackson to a solid draft. I could not be more impressed. This defense is absolutely top shelf, top tier. It's going to help Justin Herbert and the chances of this team to make a strong push into the postseason very possible. But even with all these additions, man, fans are still asking themselves a very huge question. What the heck is the plan at right tackle? We cannot see this again in 2022 if we're going to have ourselves a solid shot at the postseason, dare I say it, even a Super Bowl. And you know what? It's something that we've been asking ourselves a lot on this channel. What is the plan right here? As you guys can see right there, Storm Norton letting the heat on Justin Herbert. We have to find a way to improve that. I think I made a video about this topic a little bit before the draft, and again, the issue remains and circumstances are certainly, you know, a little bit dire in having to address right tackle, but I also have to state that the circumstances revolving around this offensive line have certainly changed as well. There are new angles to look at, new possibilities, and you know what? I think the Chargers are doing something behind the scenes that may end up shocking us in terms of how we are going to address this. If this team is truly going to make a Super Bowl run, we cannot have a weakness on that offensive line, because teams will absolutely abuse us on that right side. So before we do get started on this topic, guys, question in the comments: do you guys think Trey Pipkins is ready to start at right tackle for the Bolts? Has he earned your trust? Let me know in the comment section below. I will expand on that topic a little bit in the video as well. Before we do get started, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers' only weakness. What is the plan at right tackle? Well, first off, let's take a look at what this team's looking like after the draft, man. Of course, a ton of improvements. I post roster updates like this all the time on Instagram and Twitter. If you guys want to get a leg up on getting a preview of the team next season, make sure to hit us up with the follow there as well. Starting lineup, we all know that the defense was certainly a point of emphasis for Brandon Staley, the defensive-minded genius, in terms of free agency and even the draft, adding guys like Bryce Callahan and Kyle Van Noy as of late, which you guys will see here on this roster. And then, of course, bolstering that, we will say, depth behind our starters in these rookies like JT Woods, Jasir Taylor, and even Tito Abonia. It really looks like this defense is ready to rock and roll and make huge improvements from what we saw in 2021. In 2021, this run defense was atrocious. Coverage certainly did suffer because of that. Everything from the ground up is looking very nice and rock solid for the Chargers on defense. Then we talk about the offense a little bit. And of course, you know, I will say that the offense is definitely in a very good spot right now. We retained, you know, superstar wide receiver and Mike Williams, pairing him up with Keenan Allen and other guys. Certainly it's going to look impressive this year, while also bolstering the power run on this roster, adding offensive linemen like Zion Johnson and Jameer Sawyer, looking very nice in the trenches, while also getting talented weapons in Xander Horvath and, of course, Isaiah Spiller, another draft steal for the Chargers here in 2022. But the biggest thing, man, our Achilles heel is going to be that one right there. Storm Norton on the right side. What are we doing at right tackle for the Chargers? This has been a topic that has really kept us up at night as Chargers fans. What are we doing at right tackle? Are we going to sign somebody? Are we going to move people around? How do we address that position, which right now looks like the number one thing if you're going up against the Chargers to really load up on that right side and get after Storm Norton? We have got to figure that out because, again, we do not want to see Justin Herbert in trouble in the same way we saw him last season. So who's the man right now? Well, of course, we got, Storm Norton, who's technically the only guy listed at the position of right tackle for the Chargers right now. But realistically, if I were to give you guys a stab in the dark of who I think the Chargers currently are looking at, if you were looking at it, I guess from, a talent standpoint, I would consider Trey Pipkins as the front runner to the right tackle currently on the roster, right? And that's just out of the tackles that we have on the roster right now. And you know what? In Storm Norton's defense, I will say that he is a very decent run blocker. He put up very nice grades in run blocking last season, but he is absolutely horrid in pass blocking, and that's certainly where it comes into. The Chargers need to find themselves an upgrade. As good as he is in run blocking, we have got to keep our franchise quarterback Justin Herbert protected for the long haul. And in my opinion, his skill set in run blocking should be considered, at the position of guard if he's going to remain on this roster. So in my opinion, moving him to maybe right guard is not a bad idea. Pipkins, however, if we're talking about him being like the more talented tackle on this roster outside of Rashawn Slater, it's definitely going to be him in consideration for right tackle as well, because he's taken leaps in terms of pass protection in the last couple of years. And it's kind of hard to believe. I know Chargers fans will tell you, like in the early days of Trey Pipkins, there was really no hope of seeing him, grab that starting position and run with it. But you know what? In recent seasons and last season, I will say, it's kind of hard to believe because of, how much he struggled in 2019 and 2020. But Trey had a very solid year in 2022 or in 2021 when given the opportunity, right? He improved his pass blocking score from 50.3, which was really horrid in 2019, or I should say in 2020, to 78.4 in 2021. And that's extremely impressive. That is a huge leap for any player in the NFL. And sometimes in some weeks, he was touted as the top 5 offensive player of the week. So keeping that in mind, Trey Pipkins has done a lot of growing, and he does feel like a lot of a safer bet at right tackle than Storm Norton currently. Could this work? Technically, yeah. Storm Norton on the right side, you cannot rule it out. This team definitely believes in him after seeing such improvement. But I don't know if I've seen enough personally as a Chargers fan to trust him with the right tackle position in the 2022 season, where the Chargers really have put everything on the line. We have addressed so many positions of need, brought on so many superstars. Do we want to put the fate of Justin Herbert, the guy who makes this whole team work, in the hands of Trey Pipkins? I don't know if I'm quite sold on that idea yet. So what's the answer for the Chargers right now? Well, again, there's a couple of options here, and I think there's a very sneaky one going on behind the scenes with Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco, okay? One of the biggest topics this offseason in terms of the offensive line, which again, not the sexiest topic to talk about, but it's one that holds so many consequences. And of course, we need to make sure we give it the proper attention, especially here on the channel. One of the biggest topics of the offseason has been moving Matt Feiler to right tackle, right? And in my opinion, still a very solid idea. The downside is by moving Matt Feiler, you are disturbing the chemistry on the left side, which is very risky. So of course, if you move one guy from the left side to the right, it's going to mess up what worked so well in 2021 on the left side for Justin Herbert, right? The right side is very important. Yes, that right tackle spot is going to be something we want to address right away. But I'm sure the left side, as far as your left tackle and guard, are viewed as vital, right? As your quarterback can't really anticipate what's going on from that angle. Thus the term blind side. This is why left tackle is so expensive, so highly coveted. One of those positions that you have to have a guy in there that knows what he's doing, right? On the other hand, I must point out that the Chargers, as far as left tackle, we feel really good, and right tackle, we're trying to figure something out. On the other hand, I do need to point out that the Chargers currently have 3 high-caliber guards that can also play right tackle, right? And this is the very sneaky part. We don't just have Feiler, we have other players as well. And honestly, this could be the plan going on behind the scenes right now with Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley. And here are the candidates that exist on the roster in terms of moving to that right tackle position and bringing their talent to that position, okay? Of course, Matt Feiler. We're not going to spend too much time on him. We've talked a lot about Matt Feiler moving to right tackle. It's obvious, not much more to expand on here. But as a really quick refresher, Feiler started for the Pittsburgh Steelers at right tackle before signing with the Los Angeles Chargers. And you know what? It was pretty solid. Matter of fact, he was more than solid. He was pretty dang good at right tackle, and that's why a lot of people have been speculating about Matt Feiler moving on over to the right tackle for the Chargers, where that position being a much huger or a much bigger need than guard for the Chargers at the time being, right? And seeing as he's got the most NFL experience on the roster at right tackle, playing at a high level, he makes the most sense to me in terms of moving. But again, the consequence of that is disturbing your chemistry on the left side. Now, introducing brand new Charger Zion Johnson is our next candidate to maybe move and play right tackle. Of course, he hasn't gotten any NFL snaps yet, but he does provide some options for the Chargers on this offensive line. Very flexible. You can play him pretty much anywhere on there. He's got experience, and he's a very high caliber player. And the first round pick, he's really, really good. Johnson started the full season in 2020 as Boston College's left tackle, so of course he's got exposure at the left tackle position, and he performed as expected, right? Pretty spectacularly. But after moving to guard in 2021, his production skyrocketed, which tells me and pretty much every scout out there and every analyst out there and every talking head and fan like me on the web that he's probably best suited at the guard position at the NFL level. And honestly, he does carry Pro Bowl potential from that position going into the pros. So in my opinion, we shouldn't move him. The plan as of right now is to start him at right guard. I think that's where the Chargers should use him, especially in his rookie season. Okay, so Zion Johnson, he could start at right tackle, but more than likely he should stay at guard. And then lastly, we got Jamaree Salyer. Now Salyer, this is probably the biggest wild card on this list, right? He's one of the biggest steals in the draft, I'd say. Regardless of teams, there's no reason that Salyer should have been there when we got him, right? He was heavily projected to go somewhere between rounds 3 and 4. Some people had him graded even higher than that, a day 2, or I should say a round 2 pick, right? The Chargers, on the other hand, we got him in the 6th round. And again, that is an insane value, as many people really do believe he's ready to start in his rookie season, but not at right tackle, at guard. Okay, Salyer has been really good and seen a lot of snaps at right tackle, but his size is a concern coming into the NFL to play the position of right tackle. He's only 6'3". He does have longer arms, and I do think that could work if the Chargers are determined. They're not too afraid of size, as proven by Rashawn Slater, who was absolutely incredible for the Chargers last season. There was a lot of concerns about his size as well. But I must point out, the idea of having Jamaree Salyer play right tackle is pretty risky, because Salyer, without a doubt, does see his best work coming from the guard position. When he plays tackle, he's definitely not as good. And honestly, I think he could start for the Chargers at right tackle in a pinch, but he should stay inside. His immediate value, his upside, all exists at the guard position. So where does that kind of leave us, right? I think you guys are starting to get the idea. The answer to me, as far as right tackle, is already on the roster. And all of this being said, I think the Chargers do have their upgrade at right tackle right now, and they do know it. I know this seems redundant, but my answer, without a doubt, is still going to be Matt Feiler. And there's going to be a lot of pushback on this because, again, the topic of chemistry is very sensitive and it's very warranted, right? But hear me out. Circumstances have changed since before the draft. The Chargers just have so much talent at guard. It's almost unheard of. So let's utilize it, right? Let's utilize all these players to their full potential, especially the ones that we're confident in getting snaps this season. Feiler moving to right tackle does open a hole at left guard, but there's 2 other players I confidently feel that can fill that void. And we're going to show a preview of what the offensive line can look like here in just a second, guys. Hang in there. I can't understate, or should say overstate, the value that we got in Jamaree Salyer, man. He could and should start week 1. But let's not forget, we've also got Brendan Hymus, who to me could end up being spectacular as well. Maybe starting at that position to at least be competing for snaps at that position. So why not Zion? Right? Why not start Zion Johnson if it's such a huge concern about, leaving the left side of that line open? He's so much better. He played left guard in college. Why don't we do it? I've been asked this question quite a bit. I think given the other players on this team, it makes more sense for this composition, right? Given Sawyer, Hymas, and Zion's skill set, this composition makes a lot more sense to me. Again, we're going to show it in just a second. Sawyer and Hymas, very good in pass protection, maybe a little less spectacular in run blocking, right? And the traits of pass protection are much more valuable on the left side. And as good as Zion is in pass protection, we also need his superb run blocking on the right side. So that's why he fits so well for the Chargers at right guard. So my answer, again, move Matt Feiler to right tackle. Let Sawyer and Hymas compete for the left guard spot, okay? And this is kind of my preferred offensive line composition for the Chargers as of today. All right, this is a big one for me. I feel like the Chargers' best tackle, their best offensive line composition exists as such, okay? Rashawn Slater, Jamari Sawyer, Corey Linsley, Zion Johnson, and Matt Feiler from left to right. And I think this is a very, very good way for the Chargers to utilize all the talent on their roster. My biggest point on why I'm so confident in this composition is not just because of the talent of these rookies, because of course we're asking a lot of Jamari Sawyer and Zion Johnson to start in their rookie years, but my confidence also comes in the players surrounding them, right? If Sawyer wins the job and Zion's on the other side, look who's playing on each side of them. These rookies would be lifted by very talented players on both sides of them. Sawyer would play between an all-pro left tackle, Rashawn Slater, an all-pro center, and Corey Linsley. That's pretty nice, right? And that's going to elevate his play and help him translate or transition into the NFL a lot easier. And trust me when I say, again, Sawyer is going to have some help. You also stack that with his talent, which again, he's very good in pass pro. He fits the profile very well for left guard. You're looking at a very solid left side of that line. And I'm all of a sudden a lot less worried about moving Feiler to right tackle because I do trust Jamari Sawyer or even Brendan Hymas if they're going to compete. And then you've got Zion Johnson on the right side, who could be a year one Pro Bowler. That's a lot of people's opinions, is that in year one, Zion Johnson could vault himself into the Pro Bowl with the level of play he's going to bring in his rookie season, right? This guy is going to be playing beside Corey Linsley and Matt Feiler. Linsley is elite, and Feiler is a well above average even at his new position at right tackle. Zion will benefit greatly from playing between both of them. But he's the kind of player, Zion Johnson, he's the kind of player that you don't really need to worry about. As a matter of fact, he's so good, I'd actually argue that he'd be helping Matt Feiler more than he needs help from Matt Feiler. And this spells very well for this composition. I think honestly, guys, if I were to roll out with the Chargers roster as is right now into the season, this is the move. This is what I'm doing, at least if I'm in charge of that offensive line. And on top of that, a very big topic that sometimes goes overlooked is your depth, right? Take a look at the depth that I put together here on this example, right? This pushes the Chargers' depth in the right direction to me. In this example, I'm moving Storm Norton to guard, right? He's much better run blocker, terrible pass blocker. I do think he'd be a better fit at guard if he stays on the roster. Then you've got Trey Pipkins, who's taken strides, right? He's made a lot of improvements in the last year. I still don't trust him as a starter yet, but he's a quality swing tackle at worst at this point. So I've got him in beneath Slater and Feiler as your swing tackle. And I think in a pinch, he definitely can get the job done. And then finally, you got Brendan Hymas, who you all know I'm very high on. He'd be backing up Sawyer with Will Clapp backing up Linsley. That's some solid depth right there, man. Flexible depth. A lot of these guys can play multiple positions. I'm feeling very, very good about this roster composition right now. So the bottom line for me, this composition just makes too much sense, right? I know there will be risks, again, in terms of chemistry on the left side. But the Chargers are already rostering at least 3 players that could be considered big upgrades at right tackle. Sure, I'm not opposed to bringing in a vet. Okay, that's still on the table for me. Get me Darrell Williams. Get me Riley Reif. Dennis Kelly. One of these guys can compete, or, one of these guys can compete with Feiler, Pip, maybe Storm Norton for that right tackle position. This could also keep Feiler on the left side, which is a big plus. I'm super open to getting a vet on this team. But given the talent that we have on the roster right now, I truly believe that the answer at right tackle already exists on this team. And what's even more telling as to why I want Matt Feiler starting at right tackle, I truly believe that Matt Feiler, again, already on the squad, would service us much better at right tackle, would service the Chargers much better at right tackle than, let's say, a Darrell Williams, Riley Reif, etc., etc. He is better than those guys, than any available free agent on the market right now. That's how good Matt Feiler is at right tackle. And with our guard positions looking insanely good, I think it's time to fully support the idea of making the shift for Feiler. My last detail that I want to throw in there is that Feiler is being paid as a guard, right? So he'll probably want a small bump in pay to move to tackle. That position does get paid more. I'm all about that too, man. It would be much cheaper to give him a small bonus than to sign an outside guy. And like I said, he's very much so the best option available to the Chargers right now. Free agency, whatever. Outside of trades, if you were to go out there and trade for a high-caliber right tackle, outside of that option, which honestly the Chargers don't need to do, Feiler is the best possible guy to start at right tackle this season. I know it's, again, a little bit touchy. We don't want to disturb the chemistry, but just look at this composition. I'm feeling very confident in that. Again, the rookie's playing beside, or in between very established offensive linemen that are going to elevate their play. Feiler on the right side, who's already good there, is going to see some benefit by playing next to Zion Johnson. He's that kind of rookie. This composition makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm thinking the Chargers are being a little sneaky right now. I think, they're still poking around for right tackles. They could certainly still sign one. I'm definitely not opposed to that. But I do think the answer is on the roster. And I think this is what I would roll out with. So I would just like to know your guys' opinions too, right? I'm just a fan. I'm just out here poking around. But I do want to, gauge your guys' interest on how confident you would feel if the Chargers rolled out into the season looking like this. Because I'm feeling pretty good. Slater and Sawyer, very good pass protectors. They're going to get the job done. Corey Linsley, one of the best in the NFL centers. Zion Johnson, maybe a year one Pro Bowler. And then Matt Feiler on the right side, who's already proven at right tackle and is better than any other option right now. That's just me. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. And I hope this kind of adds a little bit of perspective, even if it's just my perspective. Again, I'm not a pro analyst. I don't know my X's and O's as well as even other Chargers YouTubers out here on YouTube. But at the same time, I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of thinking about this team, and this to me just makes a whole lot of sense. So again, let me know. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. I'm telling you guys, Matt Feiler, this is the answer for 2022.